half of this shit is just like the art of not getting fucked over. It's just a privilege to have a ticket to the game. It's a privilege to play in any of these clubs with a nice sound system. It's a privilege to warm up the floor before some of our heroes and legends. Looking back, it's like, damn, we've been on like 40 or 50 flyers, and like, you don't really feel that until after the fact. Like while you're on the come up of 10, 15, you're like, oh, this is cool, but I'm surviving in the moment. But then you realize afterwards, it's like, wow, I've done 50 events that my name is on, and it's crazy. Like A1 Records opened up in Paris, and they took one of the posters off the New York store and put it in Paris. And I was like, damn, like this shit has like gone across the pond.
I just need a beat right now. I just wanna feel a beat. Need a beat right now. I just wanna hear a beat. Need a beat right now. I just wanna feel a beat. Need a beat right now.
Hello and welcome. We are back at Saint Jardim with the one and only Willy Soul here.
What up, what up, what up?
For those of you that are not familiar, this man is a very multi-hyphenate. Whether he's DJing himself in the studio, curating, throwing parties, kind of running record label. There's a lot that this man does. And I've been a fan of his music. I really stand for like his style and approach to music, and to treating it with like a lot of heart and soul, and then also having the music showcase all that. So
That's sweetie. You just saying that.
no, I'm serious. I'm really happy to have you here.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me.
And yeah, I think before we get into conversation, it's time to open some wine.
Yeah, baby.
And I know you mentioned you enjoy like chilled reds, some like orange wines. This is an orange wine, is King Contact wine from Alsace, from this awesome producer Domaine Bechtold. It's a Pinot Gris, and it kind of has like a pinkish hue, so we can almost pretend it's like a chilled red. So it's basically pink wine, but it is like an orange wine. It's a white grape, but it just looks pink.
Next thing you know, after this show, pink wine is gonna be the cat's
I know.
pajamas.
Yeah, they'll start seeing it at every like trendy bar. It's like a little pink wine section. It's not rosé, it's pink wine.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I'm all about like the easy drinking kind of natural wines that are fun. Like I enjoy wine, but not like Somm style where we're going into like, oh, the vintage from 1961 was great, and it smells.
Yeah, what are you getting? What are you getting from that?
I'm getting blackberries, dirt, cat piss, gym socks. Are you getting the gym socks?
Always.
I'm getting deep house,
Yeah, deep house a little.
a little disco. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Hell yeah, well, cheers.
Salud, man. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Yum.
Oh, that's delicious.
Yeah, I mean, you were telling me that you like have some kind of like, also like random like family connections to just like the wine world too.
Yeah, no, I do. My brother worked on a Malbec vineyard in Argentina, so that kind of put me on to those wines. Also, Malbec is just delicious and affordable. So for me, I'm not, like I said, I'm not like a Somm, but discovering like which 10 to $20 bottles are the best is my vibe. And shout out Alamo's Malbec, Catena Zapata, delicious stuff. So yeah.
Getting free promo on here. This is good.
Yeah, no, exactly. Connect the wine a little bit.
And then your dad had like a wine podcast?
Yeah, my pops is into wine as well. He's kind of always worked in radio, and wine has been his passion. So he likes kind of interviewing and talking to different restaurateurs, winemakers, and kind of connecting that to his radio kind of past. I grew up with him working for like rock radio stations, 92.3 K Rock. So like I grew up like going to concerts and stuff.
Wow.
And then
Is that station?
No,
Or-
it stopped a while ago
Okay.
when Howard Stern moved to Sirius XM, and that was just such an awesome era of like alternative rock. So I grew up like aged 3 to like 15 going to see shows at like Roseland Ballroom. So yeah, my dad was on like the ad sales side of that, and then he kind of wanted to pivot out of that and get more into his passion and love, like we all do when we get older. So he's doing the wine podcast. Shout out the Wine List, Grape Nation. It's a good one if you're into wine.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. I'm interested. But it sounds like you obviously had that very like early upbringing surrounded by music. I mean, from him, from
Yeah.
just like, you know, where you grew up, it's kind
Yeah.
of hard not to be like
Yeah.
inspired by all of that. But I wouldn't have guessed necessarily that it was like rock was maybe some of the early stuff you were exposed to. But
I mean, it was everything. Like, I grew up like family dinners, my dad playing like Miles Davis Kind of Blue and Quincy Jones Walking in Space. And it was this like sophisticated jazzy background music that I heard during like nice vibe dinners. And I didn't know what it was until I really got into jazz and I listened to Quincy and Miles and I'm like, oh shit, this is the stuff I've been listening to my entire life. So I grew up with a lot of music in my ears, going to shows. And then my dad got one brother a drum set, another brother a guitar, and then me a bass. And I also played drums. So we were constantly exposed by music. But it wasn't until 13 that I started buying vinyl and DJing. And that was kind of the beginning of the end when it comes to kind of my dance music path. But yeah, I used to like buy like dollar bin Def Jam records, like really random bad records, like a Foxy Brown, Joe Budden B-side, just because it said Def Jam on it.
you're like, hell yeah.
Yeah, and I'm trying to scratch, and I'm like really bad, and then I'm gonna go DJ my friend's like house party. We're in like 7th, 8th grade, and like I'm trying to mix this like Foxy Brown and Joe Budden record, and everybody's like, "Can you play like the Carter 3 or like Rihanna?" And I'm like, "I don't have that on vinyl." But that led me to getting a DJ controller and getting more into dance music. And then, yeah, I got my first kind of major gigs. I wouldn't call it major, but it was real New York nightlife stuff. I was a DJ for Pacha, their U18 program.
What?
Yeah.
Pacha had a U18 program?
49th and 9th Street. Yeah, we would be like,
Wait, what?
yeah. We would be like, I'd be like selling tickets in the cafeteria, like $25 tickets to see like Laid Back Luke for like from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. No alcohol, obviously. We're all underage. And then they would kick us out of the club, clean it up, and then have a real night. And shout out to all the people that worked at Pacha at that time. It was like Boris, not the DJ, on everything under Rob Fernandez, but like Andrew from LeBain worked there. Jermaine, who was at Avant-Gardner, was there. Paul Raphael, Cesar Toribio. Like 2013, 2012. And that kind of taught me about the promoter and DJ hustle in New York from the start. And it was never pretty from the start, but it was very rewarding if you kind of like sold tickets and could play on the main stage. It took me a couple efforts to like get to that, but that kind of cut my teeth before going to university in South Carolina and getting like a weekly DJ gig at a bar where I had to bring the speakers. I get paid $300 a gig every Friday. But this is Charleston, so my rent was like $500 a month. And like a $300 gig was great, but in New York standards, you got to bring the speakers, that's kind of bullshit. But then I was like getting to play from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m., getting my DJ chops up. And I cut my teeth in Charleston, which is such a beautiful city. I want to go back one day, but there's kind of a ceiling to success as a DJ there, you know?
Yeah.
Unless you're like really in a certain lane, but house music and disco, they barely kind of have a lane there, you know?
Wow. All right. I had, a lot to comment on. I had no idea that there were U18 nights like that here.
Yeah.
Because to imagine like these kids just getting to like go see like top tier dope DJs too, like at like one of the world's most famous clubs. Like that is a lost thing. Like that doesn't happen these days.
Yeah. It's not as pretty as you think it is. It's like I'm like slinging tickets in a cafeteria in North Jersey. There's like an Albanian DJ promoter in the Bronx. There's like your rich Upper East Side kids. There's like the real Brooklynites. There's like Long Island kids. It was such a melting pot of like wannabe club kids who like we're listening to it. You know, we're like millennials. So like that was like EDM music, and that music was cool for like 1 year, and then it got really boring quick. And it took me hearing new music to really fall in love. Like we were like opening up for like Laid Back Luke and Porter Robinson and going to like Madison Square Garden.
Yeah,
after
just
with
like
fake
the big,
IDs.
like,
Yeah, it's
the
secret.
EDM names just kind of.
Yeah, but it got old, and like luckily, I'm of the age now, so I could say it. But I had an older brother who was 5 years older than me, so when I was 16, he gave me his ID, and we just wanted to go out, and like we would just be like top clubs in New York, and it'd be like Pacha, Cielo, and all this. I'm like, well, I've been to Pacha, let me go to Cielo.
So you're gonna go for like normal, like kind of like adult nights.
Yeah,
there, yeah.
sort of. It was just about like going to clubs with DJs, and like at that time, 2012, like Function One was becoming like a marquee moment and like thing of clubs where it's like, oh, this place has like the best sound. And yeah, I was like kind of in the EDM, drum and bass, electric, like funk type of world. And then my brain and mind just got messed up in the best way when I started going to Cielo and witnessing Louie Vega's Roots Party, Francois K. Deep Space. It was like I went from like
Funkbox there, or is that the party?
Funkbox, I think did that as well. Shout out Tony Touch.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was like crazy going from like EDC parking lot rave, Pacha U18, fluffy boots, plur, EDM to like, yo, here's some like banging soulful deep house, Afro house, Latin house. Everybody's wearing all black. The club is really dark, and like the sound is like insane.
Yeah.
I'm used to like the sound just being blaring and shitty, and that was what
But like rich, and like, everyone there is just like, most of the people there are like there for the music too, which is like a whole different, it's not for the scene of being at the club. It's like, oh no, these are like listeners. Like,
yeah, and that music stuck forever because like that music is timeless. While I don't want to shit on any genres, but like if you're into the music we're into, heady electronic dance music, funk, world music, jazz, all that stuff, that's timeless. But like EDM could get boring, tech house could get boring, that melodic burner stuff could get boring. I love Afro, but like there's whitewashed Afro house, and then there's like proper in the raw in the paint Afro, and what's timeless. And that kind of gave me like a realistic perspective of like what the scene is,
Yeah, and gave you a sense of just like what the lineage of all this is too. Because like I'm sure it's like, sure you're like kind of growing up around New York, and you're like getting to have some exposure to like the real ones and the people doing it, but I'm sure at that age you weren't necessarily like digging back into like what's the history of all this. I mean, maybe you were, but like once you maybe like really like got into it.
That. But yeah, when I got into college, I got back into vinyl after digital DJing, and like that's when I realized you can mix and blend two house records. And the first records I was getting was like Masters at Work and New Eurekan Soul, and like that definitely like made me get into the groove a little bit different from the usual stuff,
And did that become like mainly what you were playing out, or were you like incorporating like all the other stuff that you still had those like very like jazzy roots? And I'm sure then you heard the through line into the music you were discovering, and you were like, oh, I know some of those chord progressions, or that like.
Yeah, so like I think with all music and DJing, like you try to like own a vibe and go with it. I kind of put myself in the box as like a funk and soul DJ, especially with the
in your name.
Soul name. But I'm like, but wait, I also love techno, and I love world music, and I love jazz, and like, I had a residency at Public Records when they first opened, and that was all like 5-hour listening bar sets, jazz. And then I had a residency at Good Room, which was like playing in the bad room at peak time, and it's all bangers. And like some people would put me in the box like, oh, he's like really funky and jazzy. And it's like, yo, I love acid house, and like, yo, I love electro, and like I have an 808, and I do this and I do that, and I'm into all that. So it's been interesting to kind of like see how people perceive you that way. And I'm learning more today, like bookers from other places are really judging you on like whatever your first Instagram square is or first DJ mix is. And that's when I realized like, oh, I need to
or your like most streamed song, or like you're just like whatever.
Yeah. And as someone who's like been the booker of clubs, I have to constantly tell people like, oh, it's like you're not going to understand the vibe in the first 2 seconds of searching. But people are always looking at followers, first picture, first mix. Oh, this mix is all techno. I thought he was a jazz guy. It's like, he is a jazz guy. He's just versatile. So
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'd be curious
yeah.
how, as someone who's both experienced, like, yeah, trying to get booked as a DJ, but then also, curating and booking artists
Mhm.
like yourself, how do you try to approach it maybe with that little bit more nuance, or trying to like, you can only do so much. You can't listen to everyone's 2-hour set that they send you to like see the journey they take you on. But
Yeah.
how do you, as someone who's maybe wished you could have gotten some of that like more attention into like what you're actually doing, like how do you approach it?
I think the scene is so competitive and saturated right now. It's just you have to check as many boxes as possible. And unfortunately, a lot of clubs are, and a lot of venues and festivals are looking at hype first, which is working with this person or having this amount of followers or playing on this radio station. And that's like a starting point, I think. But a lot of people fake that shit. They buy followers and there's ways to like audit that now. So I'm trying to be all natural with that. But at the same time, it's also just about being as useful and delightful to whoever those kind of people are. Right now, I'm trying to work with as many like-minded, fun people as possible, so I get more joy out of it. So one of the boxes that I like to check is like, is this person like cool to deal with? Are they a fun vibe? And then depending on how you serve the situation, some people are more opportunistic. Like there's this whole gatekeeping world of like bookers only booking bookers, so because they're all DJs and get gigs, while others it's like, yo, this is a special space. We want to showcase someone, and we really are for the culture. And being for the culture is where my heart's at. However, like the culture doesn't always pay the bills, unfortunately. So like, and all these club owners want the best of all worlds. Like, oh, let's book them for $300 and they'll send an email blast and they'll do social media posts, when like half of these.
And it'll be the best that you heard this week.
Yeah. Well, like other people like, yo, give me $1,000. Like I won't leave the house for under this. And a lot of people like, oh, it's not worth it. And both sides are crazy. There needs to be harmony between the venue and the artists, and like either side can be out of touch. Like I don't think it's cool when an artist asks for too much money, because all these venues are shuttering, and like we need to work together. But that's where I think the relationship between the platform and venue and the relationship with the artist is super important. And when you find that in a venue, it's a really special thing. And I'm seeing other people play the game where it's not just about hype and like building up to the highest numbers, but it's more of like, I've made friends in London, New York, Miami. I trust these promoters. We have a fun time every time. I'm going to stick and be loyal to that. And I think in the long run, that's the smart move. And I've seen a lot of people with success stories like that. Other people just blow up overnight. Like all it takes is getting on like one live stream or whatever, like a power move. So it's interesting, man. I could bite your ear off about it for hours.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, I'm just, very curious. I mean, we talked a little bit before this, but just like, something I'm also navigating and kind of, I think I've kind of aligned to like one of the strategies you mentioned of just like pick those like the few labels, the few promoters, like the few city, whatever it is that you like, where you always have a good time, you feel like they really value you and your music, they kind of like get it.
Yeah.
And then, if, hopefully from like some enough consistency there, like you can grow with them also, I think is like a beautiful thing. Like when you get to like,
that's what it's all
be
about.
part of something that like grows as like kind of like a brand, a label, like whatever that thing is.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, you've gotten to be, I think, a part of like some things that have like gotten to kind of grown and like have been able to like try to like build that through consistency of like, whether that's like the quality of who you're booking, the kind of quality of the sets that you're performing, the like whatever that is. Like, I think the stuff that has longevity, like becomes associated with quality. Like, I think at the end of the day, I mean, it's also, there's like, got to sell tickets. There's a lot else,
No, totally.
but I think when you do almost try to do too many things, it can be, I don't know, people kind of like lose the plot a little bit.
I mean, you get spread thin and you don't deliver the way you want. And it's just such a artful and strategic game to play. Like you don't want to spread yourself too thin. You don't want to saturate your draw, but at the same time, it's like, what's your priority? Some people are like, let me just get as many DJ gigs as possible, whether it's 250 or 1,000. Other people are like, I play in New York once a quarter with these people and I'm loyal to them. And like, I match that up with my record that I'm releasing and doing that. Well, you know, other people just get a lot of offers and they have the ability to say yes. But I think if we're talking realistic about artists on the come up, this is like where it's at. Cause I don't think there's like a lot of scholarly resources that tell people about artists blowing up, you know, like getting from point A to point B, point A being like, you know, you're a nobody artist with 0 songs to like you're fucking Alicia Keys and you've blown up and sell 1 million records. Like they don't talk about all the stuff that happens in between, like doing your 10,000 hours. My favorite example is like the Beatles. They played in Hamburg strip clubs for like multiple hours a night and they did their 10,000 hours like before they even went on. Their whole progression is like going from level to level. It didn't happen overnight. They really, really grinded. And I'm a firm believer that that's what it takes for our game. And a lot of people don't have that patience and aren't cut out for it.
But there are plenty of examples of those that I even think like, you know, someone who I've looked up to and have like, you know, have like some mutuals with her. Like I don't really know her personally, but like Cynthia is someone I think of who just like, you know, like 15 years, just kind of in this like Berlin and Europe underground scene, just like not a name you would really know, but like was, you know, consistent, like got better at her production, kind of like releases got better, the show she was playing got better, like everything just like happened. But it's like, yeah, that took probably like a good 15 years, you know?
Yeah. I like measuring those artists on how many flyers they've been on. I think if you look back at Cynthia, like she rocked so many clubs and raves leading up to that point. And that's what it takes for all of us. But that's what I realized with my party, Funky Szechuan, which is turning 10 years old.
Congratulations. That's crazy,
man. I'm like, damn, we've been on so many good room flyers and done different warehouse parties that we produced to working at Xanadu Roller Arts. And it's like, looking back, it's like, damn, we've been on like 40 or 50 flyers. And like, you don't really feel that until after the fact. Like while you're on the come up of 10, 15, you're like, oh, this is cool, but I'm surviving in the moment. But then you realize afterwards, it's like, wow, I've done 50 events that my name is on. And it's crazy. Like A1 Records opened up in Paris and they took one of the posters off the New York store and put it in Paris.
Wow.
With like me, our Szechuan party with like Rahan and Rich Medina and Jeremy Dellin. And I was like, damn, like this shit has like gone across the pond. That's like obviously like a really heady example, but it shows like people recognize your name or remember it and like it helps, but you got to do so much more just on top of that to make it. Like even that's like not enough.
Yeah. And then there's still always that level of kind of luck too. And there, you know, plenty of those examples. And I'm sure we know some of these people who just like never even have that break, you know? And, and it's like, I really also admire those people who just like are so happy with just like being like playing whatever part they have in the scene. You just like, you know, continuing to show up. And it's like, I don't know, there's something like also really special, I feel like, about like whether it's a party that has longevity or like a person who ends up kind of creating that, like cultivating that network of fans too, where you just like, there's a whole culture behind it and the same people that you see, you know, weekly at the same party who've been doing that for 30 years. Like, you know, I like occasionally get to see that at like some 718 sessions parties where I'm just like, oh, I recognize like these 30 faces or more. And it's just like, that's pretty special too. And like, that's an important part of culture. And I'm sure it's something you try to like cultivate both at your own party for Xanadu. Like, how do you like create this like thing?
I mean, it's just volume and sustainability. Like, how do you, everything is good with planning. Like, you can wing it if you want and just try to get the best gigs. But I'm realizing it's like great to get planned ahead. And, you know, the best artists are booked 6 months to 12 years out. I feel like my planning in the first half of my career was like 1 to 3 months out and just grateful for things that came my way. But it's kind of like what we were talking about before. Like, it's just a privilege to have a ticket to the game. Like, it's a privilege to play in any of these clubs with a nice sound system. It's a privilege to warm up the floor before some of our heroes and legends. And that alone, you got to be good enough to do it. And it's a privilege, like I said. But at the same time, if you're trying to pursue this for a living, it's not the most sustainable career. And like, you could be the hottest DJ at the hottest club for 5-10 years, but if you don't have an escape route or a plan to sustain. It's like the opportunity comes and goes. And with me, I'm just trying to think about like, how can I do this for a living? How can I change music into stock, which to me now is like getting more music out, getting publishing, helping my friends get record deals or connecting other artists, which maybe might lead to a little A&R percentage or like a favor. Like you don't,
For sure.
not everything needs a finder's fee, but it'd be like, yo, I hooked you up. Can you like book me for the show? Or can you, it's this whole push and shove of hustling that takes a lot of time. Like the artist side is one thing, the DJing and promotion side is the other, but like you need both to work in harmony to make it. And that's kind of the hustle that I've been working on for well over 10
I was
years.
gonna say, I mean, speaking of hustle, like you've been involved in so many different things. I mean, you just like, yeah, like I peeked at your LinkedIn before this, and there were things that like I had no idea you were like associated with, even as someone who's been like
Yeah.
following you on socials, who's been just like kind of like, you know, we mutual friends, just kind of like hearing and seeing you around. And then I'm like, oh wait, you were doing like A&R for here. You like throw like kind of like help curate for like this event. Like
I mean,
you
before
like
I even did that stuff, which is way more of a legit career path, I was a hoe to get on the guest list or press passes to anywhere.
yeah.
So I was a photographer and a blogger, and I worked for all these little EDM blogs, and like that got me backstage to places that had me meeting artists. And like, for example, like 10, 11 years ago, I saw Rich Medina was playing at Come On Everybody. I shoot his manager an email, yo, can I like shoot your party for a bunch of free guest list spots? And it's like, sure, we need a photographer. And next thing you know, I'm like friends with Rich. I'm shooting his like family portraits in Philly and following him to like a museum while he's like speaking about like the heritage of certain musical genres.
Yeah.
And now Rich has been my friend for 10 years, which is an example of that. But like,
sweet dude.
yeah,
Gotta
he's
meet
the,
him.
he's the man, and he's on his own journey too. He's always been this world touring DJ resident, but now he's got his own boxing gym, Dante's Hi-Fi, where he's the man, he's the partner, he's dealing, and like his journey is awesome and parallel in a higher way from like what we're all doing. But yeah, I got a little, I didn't get bored behind the camera. Like I study photography and I love street photography and New York nightlife photography. Shout out to Bill Bernstein, who shot Studio 54, Paradise Garage, Empire. Like I worked with him on some photo stuff.
Wow.
But I'm not shooting as much as I used to. And like, I'm like backstage at a festival taking really like in the pit photos. Like at some point I was like, yo, like I want to be the guy behind the booth. How much longer is this going to last? Like I always identified as a DJ and artist before a journalist, but I had to do the journalism to get the access. And then when I graduated school, it was like, yo, like, let me give this thing a try and see if I can make it before I like try to apply for like what I thought was like the normal way of life of go to school, get good grades, get a job that's 9 to 5. And I hated waking up at 8 in the morning, and I wanted to do music. And I hated all that stuff, but I started getting DJ gigs, and then next thing you know, Pony Boy had opened up in New York, and I like helped them book DJs, and now I kind of have my first booking job with them.
What era was that?
This was like 2018, Greenpoint.
Yeah.
Before they really kind of like went off, it was a really cool staple, and that led to getting a booking job at Paradise Club Edition, which made me go from like Brooklyn bar to Manhattan nightclub with like a 5-6 figure budget and like booking all my heroes. Thanks to,
It's a very different experience.
yeah, and that was through hard work and like working really hard with David Kiss, who's like the music director of House of Yes. Like I was basically like his coordinator, assistant, and talent buyer, and he was the honcho, and he gave me the opportunity to help with that. And then pandemic hit, and I, you know, clubs weren't open, so I was able to pivot and get a job with like record labels. So I did that, and it's like I've done every job.
I mean, how did music management? I mean, you were like also managing like, I mean, an amazing artist.
Yeah.
Multiple, but
Shout out my man Jidam. When I was in my early 20s, I wanted to do anything in the music industry, and I discovered Jidam working at a record store. I also worked or interned at a record store. Secondhand records, kind of a funky story, but I was like living in the record store for a second. I met Jidam there. And I just wanted to do anything in the scene. So I was like, let me help you out. I started booking him for shows. And then I started kind of managing him on some like young homie management shit. I really didn't know completely what I was doing, but I worked hard for the guy and I took photos for him and I connected with people and I did all this stuff for him. And we just worked really hard on his sophomore album, Honeycomb. We flew out to India to film it with the record label he was working at, Tartlet. And yeah, the record came out and not much happened with it the first year, but then the second year got a little more streams and the third year got really playlisted. And then 6-7 years later, it's got like 200 million streams.
And that's a story not everyone also considers in terms of just like, sometimes it does take the 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years for something to catch on. Like,
yeah, that's what I think the rule of thumb of numbers is for wanting to make it as a DJ and producer. You need to do like 3 years of building your catalog and like planting these seeds, and like the seeds are a release and then doing a release party and then getting press for this and then touring it and then on to the next release. And then after 3 to 5 years, you got a catalog of 30, 40, 50 songs. And to me, that's what I'm going after now, because I've seen the success story through Jidam. And another example I like using is, Addie Oasis. Like, she was coming up at the same time as Jidam, but she was more on the drop an album, do a tour, drop an album, do a tour. Jidam was on just like 4 songs every quarter and like gig as much as you can, DJ a little more. She was more on the band tip, and they worked really hard, did a lot of these smaller shows. And then next thing you know, they both have like 1 million monthly listeners and have gotten good looks. And to me, like, that's how you make it in the music industry. It takes a few years. Like, ask anybody this, but it's like doing the 10,000 hours. And I like using that as a rule of thumb, looking at what it takes to kind of make it in the music world,
And hopefully it can like allow you to give yourself some grace too, because I'm sure it's like, yeah, you've been able to witness it from people. You've kind of been part of like the engine making it happen.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, now how do I do this for myself? And it's like, I mean, you have obviously all the wisdom that you've kind of gained over the years from that firsthand experience. And now it's like, what does it look like directed towards myself and then out into the world? And
that's the beauty of it. For me, it's awesome because I get to cut some corners that, let's say, these artists I just mentioned didn't have. But at the same time, they're like, I do want to say they're more unique and cool than me. Jidam, this born in India and lived in Australia, Brooklyn, New York, psychedelic soul savant, like licensed track by Moody Man. Like, I dream of all that. I believe in myself that I can do it. But the same thing with Addie Oasis, of like dropping these different albums, getting these different deals, doing the tour schedule, and like their music, both of their music is incredible. So I'm like, I need to produce shit just as good at this. And then I need to also play the game just as good as them. It's challenging, but if that's your dream, you got to kind of go for it and hustle. And I'm like a firm believer that in like manifestation, like if you're a good person and you work really hard and smart, like something is bound to happen to you, but like, it's got to be smart. It's got to be cool, and you got to be patient. It doesn't work out for everybody, but like, I like to view everything after New Year's every year. It's like, how was 2025? Well, like,
how was it?
2025 was like a crazy roller coaster for me, which represents, how this hustle is. For me, nightlife has been a crazy roller coaster, not just 2025. Like, I'll get a really big placement or a really cool job opportunity and it'll be a game changer for my career. But sometimes it's not the best financial, position. Like, I worked in Ibiza this summer and booked a lot of shows, but like, didn't realize how much it would cost to be out there. And like, you're not cooking eggs on toast every day. You're like eating out and doing this, and it's hard, but it put me out there, and it wasn't like as much of a money gig as it was putting myself out there. I don't want to use the word exposure, but more of like experience.
Yeah.
And
I mean, was was an amazing opportunity, at least from an external perspective too. Just like what you were building there and doing something was so different and unique for like Ibiza, and something that I feel like I would have, I would have wanted when I was out there a few summers ago, and they're like, I would have loved to have like happened upon like the kind of nights that you were making versus just like, oh, a night at DC 10, which has its own thing.
Yeah, no, and it's truly awesome, and the music and culture is cool, but the actual like industry side of it is like very high level shit of like, if you're not organized, well spoken, it could get really stressful. And if you don't work with the right people, the right characters, you could get in trouble. Like half of this shit is just like the art of not getting fucked over, and like knowing about contracts and boundaries and good communication. And a lot of people don't know that. And not saying that anybody's evil or anything, but like some people realize like, oh, my brand's really hot and there's a line of people out the door who want to DJ this party. I don't need to pay DJs. Meanwhile, like if you want the right DJ, you should pay them their respectable rates. And it all comes down to taste and preference and like whoever's controlling the money, like, oh, I really like that, for like, you'll be biased. They'll be biased and book whoever. But it's been a crazy world, and every venue that I've worked for has been a really great life experience for me. I like to take pride and say that I mostly work at institutions. So like it was cool to kind of get in the roller skating space and help open up Flipper's Roller Boogie Palace at Rockefeller Center, which was like, we had a crazy grand opening party and booked all these incredible DJs, to doing brand collabs with Brain Dead, to, that closed because it was a pop-up, and then Xanadu Roller Arts opens. And
I mean, how'd you get first involved in that space? It's a very unique, it's an amazing history that a lot of people just don't know about. Just like the, intersection of just like real music culture and just like this kind of like mixture of just like dance, performance, exercise. Like it's just this really like amazing thing.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
But I feel like most people aren't really aware, at least like maybe like our generation or younger folk. Like it's just, they don't really get it.
Yeah.
And I would love to like learn a bit more about like how you got into it, like how you see it aligning with just like it just feels like it makes sense for you. But like how would you articulate that?
Roller skating has been a blessing in my life. It's had such a positive impact on me, just for myself, my vibes, to my, career path and everything. I first got into it, I'm like a New York nightlife historian nerd. So like, I'm shouted out Bill Bernstein before. He's an awesome photographer who covered Studio 54 and Empire. I would flip through these books and see like these incredible photos of roller skaters and Cher skating at Empire and the Roxy. And then I would learn that places like the Roxy and World on Wheels in LA and Laces in Long Island, these were the places that like hosted Grandmaster Flash, De La Soul, NWA, before music kind of accepted hip hop and funk in a way. So I was obsessed with that. And when I started Funky Szechuan with my partner, Disco Nuts, we were like, let's throw a roller disco party. So we Google like roller discos New York. And dude, there's like no rinks in New York. Empire, which was like the classic rink, closed in 2007. And there hadn't been a rink in the 5 boroughs for so long. So we searched rinks and we found this spot, Crazy Legs, shout out Brooklyn Skates on Kosciuszko Street. It's a Salvation Army gymnasium.
I was going to say, I remember hearing about this.
Yeah, and I would go there and there'd be these awesome DJs like DJ Big Bob and all these other guys, and they were just playing in a gym, and they're playing like house music pitched down to like 105 BPM, and then they're mixing it in with like, hip hop and funk and R&B. And I'm like, this is like the illest showmanship of like open format DJing that like isn't top 40 bottle service, but is like I just heard a Mike Dunn track pitched down, mixed with like Too Short, mixed with Dr. Dre, mixed with like K-Tronada. And I'm like, this is all my favorite genres coming up in a scene where it's like, you're either like underground house or you're like Serato laptop DJ.
Yeah. Or like just the rare, like,
So we tried to throw a party there, but we couldn't really get our foot in. And I kind of shelved the idea of a skate party. And then out of nowhere, I kind of just manifested a job opportunity at Flippers. Shout out to my girl, Yasmin. She's got a dope agency called Accidentally on Purpose. She came to one of my events that I produced. She's like, I love what music you curate and like the DJs you work with. Like, I'm helping open up a spot and I need help, like getting music and DJs for it. And she mentioned roller disco, and then like I didn't have a lot of detail, and then I looked it up. It was Flipper's Roller Boogie Palace, the Studio 54 on wheels of Los Angeles in 1979, reopening their brand 40 years later at Rockefeller Center where the ice skating rink is.
That's crazy.
And yeah, shout out Liberty Ross, Jimmy Iovine, and Yasmin for bringing me into that, and that connected me to the skate community proper. I had known about all the OG skate DJs. I had gone to Brooklyn Skates, and I had a basic understanding of the skate world. I was no skate guru, and that job like required me to like go to the rink in Newark, New Jersey, and like go to Atlanta and like go to Long Island, and like these DJs were blowing my mind. They're playing such sick shit, different from the club. Like shout out to DJ Nile at Sundays at Branchbrook, Up North Experience, DJ D and Ali Al, Tone Capo and DJ Dream, doing this stuff all in Newark, New Jersey when there's no rink in the 5 boroughs. But then you have like these New York dons, DJ Big Bob, who's like the Michael Jordan, Larry Levan of skate DJs. He's like 70 years old. And they've been gatekeeping like their scene in music, and it hasn't been easy. But what was cool is like learning this ecosystem kind of gave me the skate bug, which to me was like 3 things I love about skating. It's like a trifecta. There's the music, it's gonna blow your mind. There's the actual activity of it, getting better at something, doing a physical activity, moving. And then the third, community. Like we all bond because we got skates on and we want to like meet up and hang. And that was really healthy for me at a time where I was like kind of in Brooklyn, Manhattan nightlife, getting a little caught up in drama and weirdness and nightlife toxicity. It gave me this new lane, and I did my homework. I met all the skate DJs. I had to be a delegate and a representative of the scene, but it wasn't easy. And I was coming into a culture that's 30, 40 years old. I'm a post-pandemic skater now. So like, I grew up going to like birthday parties and shit and like looking at the books and the stories, but actually being in the scene didn't really happen until I got a job in that world. And it's been such a blessing. It's connected me with some of my heroes and idols. I love it to death, and it's given me a competitive edge. Not that like that's what I did it for, but like skating has been this unique thing that people gravitate towards. It's the joy of roller skating, man. You show up to a rink, like you've been to Xanadu, you see the music, and everybody's like.
I mean, I remember when I was like, my ex, who I'm still like good friends with, she's from Inglewood, and I remember when I was like in LA visiting her, and her and a few of her friends had always loved skating, and they took it, I forget the name of it, but took us to this amazing like LA. Yeah. Like kind of, maybe it's more of like a modern institution, but just like apparently just like an amazing spot. Yeah. And it was my first time ever trying, and I was blown away. Yeah, one, it was just fun, like something to just kind of suck at and get better at. But then again, I was just like, it was also when I was just starting to get into kind of like disco and house and everything. And I was just like also like blown away by just the music and just the whole experience of it. And I see how it's something that could just like capture you, and something that like feels like a beautiful version of this kind of culture. It's like its own like adjacent thing. Yeah. Because also the people who might not necessarily want to like be out super late at a club, Exactly. And nothing against that, but it's just like it's not for everyone. Exactly. You don't train. It's like there's a lot of, I feel like it's a very approachable and unique kind of space. And it's interesting, I feel like, to kind of try to find where that intersection is, which I think you're kind of trying to do now. And it's like, I don't know, has it been kind of like difficult to try to think about like, okay, how do I like curate a space that is like for this particular thing, but then also kind of transforms into a club? And
So in the modern era of skating, honestly, I've been fortunate to be a part of venues that are skating venues that are nightclub hybrids.
Mm-hmm.
The normal skating rink
No,
doesn't
exactly.
have a
Yeah.
bar, sells like cotton candy and nachos and pizza, and it's cheap to get in. But like it's getting harder and harder to operate that business, especially in the 5 boroughs with rent being so high
Yeah.
for square footage. So, like I gotta elevate what's already good. There's already like skate DJs that know the rotation of DJs that need to be gate kept to be in this culture. My mission is to kind of like bring people together with it, which is super important to me, to keep skating sustainable and to kind of like not commercialize it, but like help it grow.
Yeah.
Because I really learned that like the skate community, it's like the 8 Wheels community is kind of like marginalized in the sense where like skaters come from all walks of life. Like some skaters like didn't graduate high school to some are like stockbrokers who like skate every Wednesday as their release because they're into that, or nurses or whatever.
It's just like the most like New York kind of thing in some ways. I don't know.
And then some are actually, since the pandemic, the whole influencer skater sponsor.
Oh, is that a thing? I don't.
Big time.
Whoa. Okay, I had no
Big
idea.
time. And I've become friends with all of them, or not all of them, a lot of them, and I've seen how it is. And some make a living off of it, and some kind of hustle really hard with it. But I realize that it's such a positive thing that people get excited about. Everybody just thinks it's cool. It makes it easier for me to kind of apply my industry kind of experience to elevate it. Like, how do we put together a really big partnership? Or like skating rinks, you only usually book the local DJ because it's such a small business model. How do we book legends in the rink? How do we get Moody Man in the rink or Louie Vega? Like, how do we book a concert? And shout out to the owner of Xanadu Baroon. He's like a very eccentric dreamer and visionary who's like, how do we do like a Big Lebowski themed skate party or like a techno skate or a goth skate? Like, let's do a goth skate. And at first I was like, that's kind of a weird idea. And they put it together and like got these dark wave DJs and all
Was
these.
it kind of just awesome just to see that?
All these Bushwick weirdos showed up and like bought mad tickets and drank at the bar. We're like, wow, this was a really big business move. Shout out to the team for really believing in it.
Exactly. I was gonna say like that's a great example of just like sometimes the stuff that you think is like maybe a little outlandish or just like maybe a little too weird or like just won't work is maybe the stuff that like for that very reason is actually the perfect thing to do because like no one else is doing it. Like
no, exactly. That's the thing and that's the secret. And like I said, my goal is to help push the community forward. That could be like a mixture of business stuff of like trying to get a new rink built or produce a party to just like teaching certain skaters and DJs how to play the game in return for knowledge thrown back to me. Like I've made friends with so many skate DJs and sometimes I still don't feel accepted as a skate DJ in the community, but there's such a specific format to DJing a rink. You're DJing for skaters, not for dancers, and not everybody can come in the rink and satisfy a skater. And I watched all the best skate DJs for 5 years. And for like the first 2.5, 3 years, they're all like, I'm doing it right? And they're like, you're doing it wrong. And I learned that really quick. And I helped a few of these DJs who I realized been living in the rink their whole life, like residencies, getting paid cash. I realized some of these DJs that don't know what an invoice or a W-9 is, or like don't know how to do their taxes, or don't know about marketing and branding and artist management. So like my goal is to like help tell their stories because some of them have very rich backgrounds that are as cool and swagging as like, Moody Man, Louie Vega, all that. But like, since they're just in this world, that's why I call it, I don't want to say marginalized, but it's like kind of closed off. You only know if you walk into a rink at the exact adult night. You go to an adult night session at any key skate city, it's a world-class DJ playing world-class skate music, and you won't hear that style of music outside of the skating rink. I wish I did. It would rock in the club, but like,
I was gonna have you almost crack the code or try to figure out how to bring that, or like, I guess like, yeah, where you mentioned it is distinct and that plenty of, yeah, like, DJs who are just used to playing for the club would kind of struggle, like understanding like
Yeah.
how to cater their sound towards like an audience of skaters. But do you think vice versa, it's kind of easier for like a skate DJ to like play that kind of same or similar style like for a club, or like
Easier for a skate DJ to become a club DJ, more difficult for a club DJ to become a skate DJ, because if you don't know how to skate and you don't know how skaters think, you can't do it. And a lot of respect. There's a lot of really cool DJs in Brooklyn that are really respected in the club space, that show up to the rink every Wednesday and we're like, I love R&B and I love house, and like, wait a second, there's a way to mix it together and there's a way to tell a story in the DJ set. But yeah, like I know DJs that draw skaters in the hundreds and thousands and have a bigger draw than like your classic New York legend that costs thousands of dollars. To me, like a classic New York dance DJ, who knows? You'd be lucky if 10% of their following is down to lace up on skates. Meanwhile, there's these other DJs who might be like a few $100 or $500, but like grind every week at their weekly residency at another skating rink, and skaters know and trust them, and they're like, I follow this DJ because they're dope. While like, who the fuck is this random guy playing here? Like, I don't trust this guy. And a lot of times skaters put on headphones, and when you're DJing in the skating rink and you see someone with headphones, you're like, it's
what am I doing wrong? Or
it's not. It's like a lot of these people just want to skate. And like, you might be playing house music and all they want to hear is Usher type of vibe. Or you figure out how to play Usher, Mike Dunn, Louie Vega,
Unlimited Touch,
South Soul Orchestra, like Dr. Dre. Other cities you go to LA, their style is G-Funk, like, and like modern hip hop. There's like new school, old school, mid school for everything. And like in Cali, they just don't fuck with house music. You play a house track, they like don't want to hear it. But in New York, New Jersey, Detroit, we love it. And other places, you go down south to Texas, like they want to hear like Southern hip hop. And it's all about knowing these different crowds. And like, I have a great understanding of all of it, but like, I can't say I'm a lifelonger who like travels all the time. I have been to many of these places.
And don't you also kind of help with the international kind of like festival for this too? Or
I'm the music director of Skate Love Barcelona, which I've curated for 2 years. It's been a total blessing.
Wow.
Shout out to my girl Michelle, who puts the team on her back. It's the only outdoor roller skating festival with like a proper steel deck stage, and we book the best or the DJs that we can kind of grab for the budget that we have in order to do it. And like 2,000 skaters show up. And that's another thing. I'm talking about different styles in North America. Europe is
I was gonna wonder, like,
so I could bite your ear off about skating forever. There's different styles in different cities. People have different access to rinks. In Europe, like it's more skating outside on concrete, while in the US it's more like I got my home rink that's got a big wooden floor. And it's all about the floor. Like as DJs, we're all about what sound system is this club. Skaters, it's like, is it a wooden floor? Oh no, that's some shitty plastic stuff. Like you can tell the real skaters want the proper floor, and the non-real skaters are just think it's a cool thing. It's not a big deal, but it is a big deal. But that gig I've really loved, and that's a very heavy gig because it's like built off of volunteers. Like skating is the roller skating industry is like a very hard business model to make a living off of. I think some people either make it really big or they struggle to break even or they just lose. And all these entities I've worked for have not had a walk in the park. Everybody had to work hard. Everybody had to volunteer. Everybody had to cut deals. Everybody had to kind of do their thing. And it's not easy to keep the culture alive and sustainable, but there's so much potential with it. Like everybody loves it. Everybody thinks it's cool. not everybody, but like there's
Nope, there's a lot of people, and a lot of people who don't even know they'll find it cool yet. Like,
I mean, I enjoy being like a salesman basically for skating.
yeah. No, at
It's
this point, I feel like you are just
yeah.
kind of this like public persona that like gets to kind of spread the gospel of it.
Yeah, no, and it's beautiful. And again, like I am like a new Jack in this scene for the last 5, 6 years. There's so many guys who've been in it longer than I have, but it's just fun. It's such a breath of fresh air, like coming from the Brooklyn nightlife scene of hustling clubs and owners and bookers and like other DJs who throw parties to like jumping into roller skating where like people are like, oh, like there's skate parties and there's this new place and there's this thing. I don't need to drink alcohol or there's music. And like to me, it was just something new and fresh to push because like just DJing in dark clubs, not everybody's like down for that.
For sure.
Like I lost
And
like,
some people even grow out of that, or some people like,
oh yeah, I annoyed all of my friends from high school, college, and like my first, few years in my 20s. Like, come to my club, like come to my residency at this club, and people like, yo, it's Thursday night, bro. Like, I have a job, and like I don't go out.
or they're like, oh, you close? I'm not staying till 2. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
exactly. So it's a whole thing, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. I'm just happy to like be here, honestly. But
Yeah.
the real hustle that we're all trying to figure out is like, how do we make a living off of this? Because I would love to like raise a family in a brownstone in Brooklyn, but like New York is the most expensive city in the world, if not top 5, where I gotta make like $2-3 million or have $1 million in my bank account or some shit to like put a down payment on one of these places, and then you gotta pay taxes for it and this and that. Like being a DJ is
No, that's not gonna be the easiest route to do that.
yeah, but you gotta like be versatile. You can't be a one-trick pony. You
Yeah.
can't just be a DJ. You gotta run a label, or you gotta be a booker, or you gotta like be a producer. And to me, like you gotta like figure out how to catch a big break. And I think that's like through being an artist. One of your records gets a bunch of streams, becomes a hit, or you get a sync license and you're in a commercial, and all of a sudden you're getting 20 grand to like, oh, now you're a music programmer, but you're managing like a high profile club or hotel. And like, you have to produce this event during Art Basel, whatever. And that's cool. There's levels to all these things, whether it's like music programming or promoting or running a label. And like, unless you're like crushing the DJ hype game and getting, 5 to 10 grand.
But that's gonna be like one of every like 1,000 or 5,000 or more that actually try. It's like that's not something you can really give as like advice to people.
Yeah.
But something else that's, I would say, a 1 out of less than 1% thing, maybe 0.001% thing, is getting to make music with Louie Vega.
Yeah. I mean,
Like how I mean, amazing track, by the way. But like how does something like that come about?
it kind of goes back to all the stuff that I was saying before, but the story goes, me and Louie had mutual business affairs within the roller skating sector of New York City.
I was gonna say, but actually the one time I met him was at Xanadu.
Oh yeah, nice. So I kind of like brushed shoulders with Louie a few times in nightlife. He probably didn't remember me the first few times. Hey, I'm the guy that you met at the place with the speakers type of vibe, and like nobody remembers that. But I was friends with Louie's sound tech and legendary DJ and label guy Takaya Nagase. And Takaya had connected me with Louie when I became the music director of Flippers. And I'd mentioned to Takaya that I was booking DJs, and Louie kind of got in touch. I got in touch with Louie, and Louie's like, yo, like I used to be a skater growing up, and I still skate. And I love the skate world. I love Louie's energy. And we were able to figure out how to book him at Flippers at Rock Center, which was very iconic, having like the legendary New York Don playing it, who's also a skater and understands and like made it work for us, which was very generous of him and nothing but joy. But we became friends through that, started talking about skate culture, started getting Chinese food, shout out Waze. And we just became just friends, which was cool. And it was just all about skating and music. And like, we would just have the most heady conversations about music and skating. Fast forward a few years, I get a job in Ibiza over the summer. Louie's working and lives in Ibiza during the summer. Turns out we're neighbors.
Wow.
So like we're getting like coffee and lunch and just hanging out. And one day he's like, yo, I'm going to the studio. You want to come? I was like, hell yeah, I want to come.
Cancel all plans. Like,
Cancel all plans. And yeah, I just watched him and, you know, he was nice. He let me like turn the knob on a synthesizer for one of the tracks. So I was like, this is so cool. And yeah, then I showed up to another session and was hanging out with him, and he had made this new song that was kind of like came from another song. So like he was experimenting with the new session, and you know, I definitely had to like hustle a little bit and be like, yo, like, can I get in the vocal booth? And Louis is like, yo, you can write something? I'm like, you've heard me MC? And he's like, go for it. And he let me do it. And I just like nailed a spoken word house vocal in the first verse or first take. And dude, like the rest is history. Like I helped tweak a few things in the song, but that's like classic Louie Vega track right there. So shout out to the Funky Cadets. It's Louie's new kind of collective of artists that he works with. Kind of the new kids on the block mixed with the OGs. Louis says that it's like his 2026 version of Hard Drive. So like he's working with different cats like myself and Axel Tosca, the keyboard player, to you know, all these incredible guys that are just really cool. And you know, the track got on you know, his unreleased 5-pack, so his vinyl first physical release. And now we're working on remixes, which are coming out soon. I'm really excited to share those. I don't think I'm ready to say who yet, but let's just say there's some like Detroit royalty associated with this one. And Louis let me make a little skate remix of the track. So it's cool, but shout out to Louis, man. He is like such a model citizen. He's so positive. He's so professional. He's so genuine and sweet.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just like this crazy New Jersey, New York, neurotic Jew who's like grumpy and complains half of the time, like Larry David syndrome, like who's this person talking to me? And then I meet cats like Louie Vega, and he's so sweet and genuine, and I realize like that's the type of person I want to be, music or not. I want to be nice.
I mean, he's one of those like few people I've heard only amazing things. Like I've become kind of buddies through music and stuff with like the guy who runs the Log Cabin studio, and like he would record out of there sometimes, and just like getting to kind of hear like how he operates obviously like in the studio is like pretty unique. I think especially for like this era of music producer, like he's more of an old school kind of producer who like has this kind of vision and is like bringing together this cast of people, and like, you know, which there's not that many like dance music producers, I feel like.
To his credit, I think like a lot of the methods that he uses when producing and releasing music could be old school, but he's actually very forward thinking, works with a whole lot of things. But the thing I got the most love for is his willingness to mentor and bring people up with him. He's been super sweet to kind of like take me under his wing sometimes. But I'm like, yo, Louie, like, why are you so nice to me right now? Why are you
like, you don't have to do this.
Like, why are you inviting me to the studio? Like, I might distract you. And he's like, dude, when I was 16, like, fucking Jellybean Benitez, Larry Levan, and Tony Humphries used to be like, hey, Louie, like, want to come to the studio? And he would watch them, and he would, you know, he's cut from royalty. He's the nephew of Hector Lavoe, and he was family friends with Tito Puente, I think, or very close friends with him. And he was going to these sessions and watching, and he's mentored like generations of producers. Like I know Masters at Work mentored Mood to Swing in the 90s. And he's very much showing love to all the kind of New Yorkers on the come up right now. I like to shout out, like, it's kind of like my draft class, but like, you know, Louis shown a lot of love to like Toribio, Muscle Cars, myself, and then a lot of other DJs, and they all kind of like got a leg up from me and started a little bit earlier for me on the production side, and like Louis worked with them, and like it's this beautiful New York ecosystem that is really beautiful. And it's just this kind of lesson to like bring people up with you. And it's all about community and vibes. And like, I'm so grateful for him. But like, dude, this guy is a machine. He's twice my age and he works like
Oh,
3
nonstop.
times harder
It's
than me. He's
crazy.
working on 3 albums right now. He fucking was in Panama, Los Angeles, and New York this weekend gigging. And he's like doing all this shit. And I'm like,
I don't get it.
waking up tired and like hungover. I don't like get too crazy on the hangovers, but like the guy hasn't drank for 14, 15 years and he's like releasing 20 plus tracks a year and unveiling all this stuff. And like his yield is like 2-3 times higher than me. And it's all from like perfecting the game. Like the guy has his infrastructure down. He's got his team down. He like knows what promoters to work with. He's got a good booking agent. He's like he's a dad and an incredible husband and father, and like finds time to do all these things. And like his productivity is so high. Like I'm just trying to release like 6 songs this year, and this guy's dropping like 20 songs, and he's like going after the Grammy.
Yeah, I mean, but this shows you it's so much about, like you referenced, like the team that you build around too also.
Yeah.
It's like he's so talented, and he has this unique capability to just like have that energy, and he also, you know, has this kind of team around him, and like that's, I think, takes a while to kind of create.
Oh man, he's been doing it since he was like 16, like 1984 or 1985. Maybe got the year wrong, but like he told me about all the different eras he went through, from like being a hustling 16-year-old playing a few times a week, had to have an entourage come and bring your crates of records for you because there was no CDJs yet. He's playing at a club for 8 hours and like he needs help like bringing like 1,000 records, to like him telling me about like the 95 to 2005 era of like major record labels paying big bank, to like we work so hard in New York, which is one of the most ruthless cities to be a DJ and producer in. He's already the king of New York, but like he goes to Italy and the Italians love him. Like he'll get booked in a beautiful vineyard in Sicily and like 3,000-4,000 Italians will show up. And like, that's the thing about New York. Like if you really can make it here, you can make it anywhere because it's such a strong brand. And when you're like Louie got 6 or 7 or something, I'm not sure, Grammy nominations and 1 win, like he's like earned that. And him and Kenny Dope to me are the Quincy and Herbie of house music. They literally have more credits than any other house producer, which I think is awesome. And then their versatility is on that vibe between Louie's Latin and jazz background with elements of life. You know, they opened up and played the Super Bowl a few years ago, and St. Louis Jazz Festival, and he like sells out his Blue Note residency, to his New Yorican Soul project, which has like all the legends on it, to just coming out
to just down and dirty house too, like it's everything.
Shit that's just a banger, whether it's like hard drive to a more deeper cut to like, he shows a lot of love to all the legends that he came up listening to in the gospel, funk, and soul space and Latin space, and he's just been through it. And he's got his own journey too. I bought one of his like original records on Fever, and it was like an 808 freestyle like Latin house track that's just crazy, so sick. And I just got so much love for this guy. Like he's so real. He's like the leading example of how we should all do this. But yeah, he gave me a lot of advice that, you know, we should all follow, which is just consistency. Like if you want to be in this game, you got to be consistent. And if that means having a job somewhere else to pay the rent while you build your catalog up to 20, 30, 40, 50 songs, that's what you got to do. But eventually, you know, if you grind and you work smarter, not harder, I think it could work out. And he's just the man with it, man. I have so much love for him, and, you know, it's opening doors up for me, and I'm in debt to him. Like I would do anything. If anybody fucks with him out his back, type of vibe.
I mean,
you know?
I mean, I feel like kind of hearing those words of wisdom from Louie is kind of a perfect way to kind of start to, you know, wrap up. It doesn't really get much better than hearing from, yeah, the Don himself. Like, is there anything else you kind of want to shout out, want to reference? Like, you have a lot of things going on.
Yeah, I mean, just ruthless hustling. I want to shout out my party, Funky Szechuan, turning 10 years old this year. Stay tuned. We got some special events. We're going to be in Zona Maco this week at Departamento. I'm really excited about that. During the winter, I produced this awesome event with my homies at The Good Life and Burton Snowboards. It's called the Winter Get Down. It's our 5th year. We going out to the Sierra Nevada in Colorado. If you want to learn how to ski or snowboard, party and listen to music, it's like this incredible après experience that, you know, brings people together to snowboard and dance. And you don't have to be an expert snowboarder, but it's dope. It's a mixture of like the New York street photography scene with like the LA skateboarding scene with like the New York and LA vinyl music culture to DJs. Yeah, there's like a stuntman community. I'm friends with like so many cool people. Shout out Mecca and Nolani. They're like the stunt doubles for like crazy actors, and my man Ranger Larry. So it's like, if you're into it and you want to make friends and be in like a really cool place, Winter Get Down is cool. Same thing with Funky Szechuan. I work really hard on these events with like full integrity, and you know, it's hard, you know. Luckily all these events are well attended, but some of them like have really high overhead and I don't make a lot of money, and sometimes I'm in debt. Other times, like, you know, it works out. But I was talking about getting the job at Flippers the other day. That was a manifestation of working hard at Winter Get Down 4 years ago. A friend who came to it was like, this is really cool. Can you help me out with something else? So like the whole thing of working hard and smart with good intentions, I think, leads to all that. But yeah, like that, those are the two kind of events. And then I want to shout out my boy Jinim. We're officially partners on his record label, Jazz Diaries. We got some heat coming out with Megatronic and Natasha Diggs. I'm releasing my, I don't want to call it my debut record, but it's like my debut record going on Spotify.
Wow.
Original music with my homegirl Paua from the really dope Electro Tropico Mexican group Sotomayor. And it's like gonna be called NYCDMX. She's from Mexico City, I'm from NYC, and it's a hybrid fusion of our styles. So it's like Paua singing in Spanish and Spanglish with me producing the beats. And yeah, it's like drum machine funk meets punk meets, you know, soulful Latin house, just goodness. So that's coming out on the Jazz Diaries this summer.
To send that to me.
Yeah, I will. And then, you know, we got some other releases that we're signing as a boutique label. So I'm really excited. And the Jazz Diaries is the shit because Jidam's worked really hard on it. This is going to be like the 20-something release coming up. Moody Man has licensed some music from this. And it's just dope to be working with my best homies. And that's what I'm trying to do today. Like, I'm not chasing cloud. I don't even want to be a part of the biggest venue anymore. Like I did all that. I got burned a few times. I made a lot of money here, lost a lot of money there. And for me, it's all about working with people that you love, can support, and like build these community pillars in. And I value that so much more now. Like I really, obviously it'd be dope to get paid a big bag to do a big gig and like centralize the hustle to one thing. But you sell your soul a little bit of that if it's not the coolest gig, if it's not the dream gig. Otherwise, like I'm looking to invest more time in my friends and family who are really excited and talented. And I want to support like-minded people. You know, I want to support people like you as well, like you doing the same exact grind as me and like having your marquee moments. So it's like, how do we work together to support each other? And that's just the name of the game. And I think it's all coming down to manifestation. If you're a good person, do good things and work hard and smart. I do know a lot of people that work hard but not smart, and like they fuck themselves up and they don't make it and they have to give up. Well, I know some people that are like on the regiment and going up, and it's beautiful to see them thrive. And I'm very proud of all those people to be friends. And all I want to do is just be a part of that scene and make a living off of doing what I love, and have a ticket to like heaven and just be like, was this all good?
Yeah.
Like, was I a good person?
Uh,
It's not about like nightlife hedonism or money for me. Like, it's about like the motherfucking groove. Like, how do we do the music that we love with the people that we love, with a positive vibe that supports the stuff going forward. Sounds too good to be
no,
true.
but I mean, I think I think you summed it up perfect. Like
Yeah.
that's really what it's all about. And I'm really looking forward to seeing
Yeah.
you continue to flourish and kind of where this all takes
Likewise,
you. And I
baby.
really appreciate
Yeah, no doubt.
like getting to kind of be part of this
Yeah.
like beautiful world and ecosystem with you. So appreciate,
Yeah.
had you here, man.
No doubt. It means the world, and likewise back to you. I guess just a message to like everybody doing the grind right now, like, especially the younger generation. If you ever see a way to like want to do what cats like you and me are doing, like we're always looking for support. I'm always looking for someone to help me out with shit, whether it's like doing the door at a party or helping me do production, or like maybe I need an assistant or some shit. Like
There's a lot of ways to get involved though.
I'm looking for an assistant right now. If there's any young guns trying to do it, but like I would repay the favor back. It just takes a village, man. Like you look at some of these artists, whether it's like all the names that we mentioned, like Jidam or like Disclosure or Beyonce, like Disclosure and Beyonce, they have like offices of people working for them, and like
Many of them have been there for a long time.
yeah, like Taylor Swift and Beyonce, literal corporate offices. Paul McCartney, like all these guys have like buildings of people working for them. And then we come back down to our level, like it's cool to just have an assistant and a manager and a booking agent, but like the way kind of Louie brought me into some of this stuff, like I want to do for the next generation and help out. And I think an advice to the next generation is just like, don't be shy. Rich Medina said a good quote to me. He's the man of fucking crazy quotes and words. I love hearing that guy run his mouth. He just told me closed mouths don't get fed. So like if you don't hustle and you don't ask, you're not going to receive. And I've always been one to try to make that happen. So that's my advice to all. And yeah, man, we got to keep building this music world together and just showing love to everybody,
Amen to that.